with the reboot of Bridgewater, which you describe in great detail in the first book, which came about after a not-so-great 1982 for you. In fact, you describe it as disastrous. What happened in 1982?
Well, you know, I formed Bridgewater in '75, so '82 is like 7 years later.
That's the reboot.
Yeah, that's the reboot, right. And I had, in 1980, 79, 80, I had calculated that American banks had lent way more money to emerging countries than those countries were going to pay back, and it was about 250% of their bank capital. And so we were going to have a big banking crisis, and I thought that was going to happen, and I got a lot of attention for that. And then in August '82, Mexico defaulted, and there was a sequence of other defaults, and there was a big debt crisis. And I thought that was going to cause an economic crisis. And I couldn't have been more wrong. That was the exact bottom of the stock market when Mexico defaulted. And anyway, I received attention at the time. I was on Wall Street Week, and I was asked to testify to Congress, and I was wrong. And I had, I think at the time, maybe 8 people who worked for me. I had to let them all go. Mm-hmm. And I lost money for me. I lost money for clients. I had to borrow $4,000 from my dad because I didn't have really enough money even to take care of my family at that point. It was very painful. But it was the most valuable thing probably that happened in my life, certainly one of those, because it changed my approach to thinking, because it made me start to think, you know, how do I know I'm right? How do I continue to take risk and not go through these mistakes? And it made me change a lot. Like, I wanted to find the smartest people I could who would disagree with me. I wanted to build an idea meritocracy in which independent thinkers would challenge each other. And I wanted to deal with risk. How do I maintain the returns but diversify and do certain things to deal with risk? And it was from that point really on that everything started to change. So that was my terrible experience. And I think that that's, by the way, one of those lessons. Like, there was a book that my son gave me in 2014, Joseph Campbell, Hero of 1,000 Faces, and he describes about how that crashing occurs, and that changes. Do you have a metamorphosis? So the whole approach to learning from mistakes and painful mistakes and making the most out of them and writing principles down, in other words, recipes for how do you deal with the circumstances, learn the lesson, write those principles down. This is the thing that I would recommend to, you know, everybody, write them down. And I learned also that by being able to write them down clearly enough that they could be expressed in what were then called equations, or now algorithms, that allowed me to make decisions and us to make decisions in a very powerful way. So that experience was really the turning point.